Last season saw a great result for Coventry City as we took home the Carabao Cup, and now we look to improve even more and try to add more trophies to the cabinet. So welcome back to the Coventry City rebuild. This is season 4, and this is what the team looks like going into season 4. Obviously, there are some pretty big holes in the central of defense, and to make matters worse, Bobby Thomas has requested a transfer, so I think it's pretty obvious where we're going to have to look to improve in the transfer market. Before we make any actual transfers, the first move we're going to make is promoting youngster Dylan Cairns to the big club. He's only 61 overall, but he has that monster 92 to 94 potential. I'm not sure we're going to be able to see that in this series, but at the same time, maybe we'll give him a go a few times this season. Thankfully, the board has actually grown up this time around, and they've given us a budget of £115 million to spend. A little bit of an increase over the 32 mil they gave us last year, so I'm very happy with that, and I think that'll be enough to fill the holes in the central of defense. So the first signing to come in this summer transfer window is big defender Jared Branthwaite. He was playing in Villarreal and we got him for just under £50 million. He comes in at 83 overall rated. We'll see how we did. A B rating. We did get him for 50 million, but we also have a 10% sell-on fee, which won't affect us in this series though. So it's a big hole plugged there, and I still think we need one more. And the second center back to be brought in is Canadian Moise Bombito. We brought him in from Nice in Ligue 1. He is incredibly quick. His pace is 90 rated. His defense is mid-70s. We got it for an A rating. We got him under market value, actually. So it's a really good signing, and I'm really looking forward to see what we can do with Moise Bombito in the lineup. And because Moise Bombito saved us so much money, we still had some leftover funds to go get this man, the Brazilian Rafinha. Rafinha is getting a bit older. He's now 30 years old, and his overalls dropped a bit to 84, but that's still an overall rating that can help our team immensely. So a C rating, not too bad. Apparently we could have got him for 36.2 million. I guess whoever is evaluating this wasn't in the negotiation rooms because they were firm on nothing under 44.9. So anyways, still a good deal, and now we can see what our team sheet looks like with all the updated transfers. Before we take a look at the team sheet, we just cover the one player that has left so far, and it's Bobby Thomas, who left to, he went actually to Spain for £7.1 million. Now we can take a look at the team sheet. So this is the starting 11 that we'll take to the field for this season. As you can see, Branthwaite and Bombito slot in right away. Rafinha will probably get that starting role eventually. I think I'll just put him on the bench for the first game, and then I think this team has a shot to do some really good things here. And it's also nice to see that Ben Sheaf, Van Ewyck, Sakamoto, Haji Wright, these guys have been with us since the beginning. This is what the Coventry City team actually looks like in real life right now. So it shows that they do have the potential to maybe make their way up to the Premier League. So taking a look at the calendar, we have 3 games in August. We have 3 games in September, and why I'm highlighting this is I don't see any European competition. Maybe it comes later, but I don't think it would come after the start of the Premier League season. So I guess finishing 5th and winning the Carabao Cup doesn't get us any type of European tournament, so that's kind of a disappointment. So I guess now let's focus on winning the Premier League. So with all that, now let's jump into the highlights in the first game at Nottingham Forest. So jumping into the first game of the season, it would be Coventry at home welcoming in Nottingham Forest. Coventry looked to get off to a great start as under 5 minutes, Haji Wright would play a reverse ball into Sakamoto, who takes it first time and puts it by the Forest keeper, making it 1-0. Before the 30-minute mark, the ball will be out wide. Sam Maxine puts in a cross for Sakamoto, who looks for the extravagant finish. Turns out to be a great cross, and Haji Wright puts it in to make it 2-0, and that is how this one would end, giving Coventry City their first win of the season. The next test would be when Coventry City welcomed Arsenal to the Coventry Arena, a team that we've struggled against in this series so far, and it would be Arsenal who has the first chance as Saka is dribbling around, plays a nice 1-2, gets the ball back, but his shot from outside the box is well saved by Atibolu. Right before the half, there'd be some good pressing by Van Ewyck, who gets the ball with a great tackle, plays in Haji Wright, gets by the defender, and slots it by the Arsenal keeper, making it 1-0, and that's how that one would end. Big win against Arsenal. And it turns out we do have Europa League competition, as we've made it in. I guess it was just late in getting into the schedule, but we're here against FC Groningen, and they had the first chance of the game as their strikers played behind the Coventry defense, but luckily his shot goes wide. Coventry would try to make that miss pay when Rafinha had some great work, gets down to the byline, cuts all the way back around to the top of the box. No one can keep up with him. Unfortunately, his shot goes barred down but out, and Basset's header is saved by the keeper, just pushed around the side of the post. However, it'd be the nice pressing again from the defense, leading to Basset getting a great chance in behind the D, and he slots it by the keeper, making it 1-0, and that would lead to Coventry City's first win in the Europa League. Huge result for Brendan Rodgers and his men as we look to start this new adventure in the Europa League. The next test, sticking with Europa League, would be against FC Lugano, playing at home here in Coventry City. And again, it's the visitors with the first chance, with Vladdy taking a shot, but it's Dovin making a big save to keep it 0-0. And then Joss Eccles plays a great ball over the top to Basset again, who's getting a lot of starting time in the Europa League. He slots it by the keeper, making it 1-0. And if there was ever a chance of Lugano getting back into it, it went out the window less than 3 minutes into the second half, as it would be their skipper who's shown a straight red for a ridiculous challenge, and that led to Coventry City holding on to the 1-0 win. The biggest test so far in the Europa League is an away trip to Napoli. Coventry City would start off pretty well in this game as Saint-Maximin plays the ball to Hadji Wright. Rafinha is making a run through the middle. He's found and he slots it by the Napoli keeper to make it 1-0 Coventry City. However, less than 15 minutes later, it would be Joshua Xerxes who's playing with the ball around the Coventry midfield. Lindstrom finds Garnacho with a nice pass, who eventually gets it back to Lindstrom, who slots it by Atubolo, making it 1-1. And it would go from bad to worse for Coventry, as there would be some kind of mix-up at the back there, tried to pass the ball, ended up being a weird slide tackle, and Joshua Xerxes slots it by Atubolo to make it 2-1, and that would be the first loss for Coventry City in the Europa League. Now, without any further ado, let's check to see where we are in the Premier League and the Europa League at the midway point of the season. So this is what the table looks like halfway through the season. We are in 8th position, and I feel like that's a bit harsh because we're actually only 7 points away from first place. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. As you can see, there's a 3-way tie for 5th, 6th, and 7th, a 2-way tie 3rd and 4th at 35 points. So we're in striking distance of the top 4 at least for sure. But I do think that this might be our last season. So I think most of the focus will go to the Europa League. Here is the reason for that. After 6 games played, we sit 4th in our league table. With this new group stage, or league stage, I think they're calling it, I think it's the top 8 that go through, or that might just be for Champions League and it's top 16 that go through here. But I feel like in this position with only 2 games remaining, we'd really have to mess it up to not go to the knockout stage. So this is why the Europa League will be getting most of, if not all of the focus for the time being. And finally, as you can see here, we will not be repeating as Carabao Cup champions. We were knocked out in the 3rd round to, funnily enough, Spurs, who we eliminated in the semifinals last season. So we won't be returning as Carabao Cup champions. Switching over now to take a look at some of the stats for some of these players halfway through the season, and it's the new signing Rafinha who's leading the way in goals with 9, well, tied with Alain Saint-Maximin with 9. Lorenzo Luca has put up good numbers in his limited amount of games, but he will be getting more as Hadji Wright has been injured for the next 2 months, so that is a big loss. And I was looking to maybe upgrade that in this transfer window. We don't have too much money left over. There's 17 million pounds that remain. And but as you can see there, Norman Basset also with 5 goals, 2 assists in his 7 games played. Most of those have come in the Europa League. Manu Kone is still this rock though, 5 goals, 6 assists. He still leads the way in assists, are tied with James Ward-Prowse. So a lot of good things going forward. So like I mentioned, Hadji Wright is out for 2 months. So I'm wondering if that will be the only spot we want to replace there. As Lorenzo Luca maybe is not good enough for the moment. I mean, his numbers are showing that he's good, but it's in game he hasn't been as dominating as I'd like him to be. So maybe we'll take a look at that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scout for the month of December, and we're going to jump ahead to the transfer deadline day. So we needed a new striker, we went out and got one. We got Memphis Depay from Manchester United. We brought Depay in for £14.4 million, which is only 400,000 more than his market value. So hopefully that was a pretty good deal. As you can see there, he comes in overall 80 overall rated. So hopefully this can help us out. A D value, apparently they would have given 11.5. Again, whoever is judging this wasn't in the negotiation room, because Manchester United would not go under 14.4. So it almost ended up being a straight swap. As you can see there, we have sold Lorenzo Luca to Burnley for £14 million, and then we bought Memphis Depay at 14.4. So now let's go take a look at the team sheet to see how we're looking. So as you can see there, Memphis Depay is going right into the starting lineup, because Haji Wright has just been cleared to play again, but as you can see, his sharpness is red. It's all, I think it's at 0. So for the time being, Memphis Depay will go right into the starting lineup. Bassett's been playing well in both Wright and Lorenzo's absence, so it's looking good here. Again, the focus will be on European competition. So let's go take a look at the schedule now. The transfer business is done. Our striker situation is handled. So now we can focus on the Europa League. And it's not an easy task whatsoever. We got Besiktas at home in the last game. It's a win and you're in kind of scenario. But with how jam-packed you saw the group stage was, I think a draw would also, in some situations, do it for us. So, of course, we want to focus on getting that win, though, and advancing to the knockout stage. So without any further ado, let's jump into the highlights. So we'd actually end up losing that game to Besiktas, but there's a round of 32, so we are going to be more than fine. And in the round of 32, we're against Malmo. And on the road, the game 0-0, Memphis Depay would play a nice ball over the top that would get to James Ward-Prowse. He's in on goal, would skip by his defender, and slot it past the keeper, making it 1-0, stealing a big road goal ahead on Malmo. Into the second leg, it would be the James Ward-Prowse show again. As the ball is played into Haji Wright, it doesn't fall to him kindly, but it does get to Ward-Prowse, who maybe scored the nicest goal of the series so far to make it 2-0 on aggregate. And just in case we need any extra insurance, it'd be Rafinha, who's played in, beats his man, and slots it into the side netting, making it 3-0, and Coventry City would advance to the round of 16. Waiting for them there would be Italian side Torino. The first game ended up being 0-0, so we're going to skip right to the second leg, where we have to win on the road, make things hard here, as the ball will be played out wide. Try to play it in, plays the Haji Wright, and he slots it by the Torino keeper, making it 1-0 Coventry. And into the second half, to put this one away for sure, a nice tackle there, is able to spring Haji Wright. He slots it by the keeper, making no mistake, putting the score at 2-0, and that's how this leg would finish. Into the quarterfinals now. This would be a tough test against Young Boys. The first leg would happen at the Coventry Arena, and our best player was Noah Achibolu. So normally that would not be a good thing, but he luckily came up huge once in the first half, and then again in the second half. He stood on his head in this game, and Coventry really needed that, as they were able to escape with the 0-0 draw. Into the second leg, it'd be in the 81st minute. It'd be Alain Saint-Maximin with the best chance of normal time, but a big save by the Young Boys keeper. And then it would be the same man, Alain Saint-Maximin, again has the chance to put this away in the 111th minute, but he hits the post. So that means we are off to penalties. And this one was a marathon. It would take 10 to the 10th round before we found a winner here. Atibolu guessed correctly multiple times, just couldn't get his hand on the ball. And the Coventry players made no mistakes. Here we are in round 10. A very weak penalty that Atipolo just grabs very easily. And then that means it was all on Jared Branthwaite. Someone you probably wouldn't have normally step up to be taking a penalty. But hey, we're in round 10. We need the big center back to slot it home. And he does, putting it in the top corner. Very nicely done. We are off to the semifinals. In the semifinals will be an all-England matchup as Coventry City took on West Ham United. The first leg again, I don't know why every single first leg seemed to be at Coventry, but anyways, Moise Bombito made a nice tackle initially, but the ball be played back to Rasmus Højlund, who makes it 1-0 West Ham. Luckily, before this game was over, Coventry would get one back in the sense of Rafinha, who again from that right wing slots it by the West Ham keeper, making it 1-1. Traveling to London, it would be a ball that was swung in to Haji Wright, just couldn't get his head on it. But luckily, Manu Kone, pressing like he always does, then finds Haji Wright, who slots it by the West Ham keeper, making it 1-0 and 2-1 on aggregate, and that would send Coventry City off to the finals. And awaiting Coventry in the finals, it had to be Napoli. After the thrashing they gave us in the league stage, Coventry has to prove a point when everything's to play for. It's all on the line. Here we go. Very early on in this game, it would be again St. Maximin who has the chance for Coventry City, but he didn't bring his finishing boots, I guess, this season, as it's a big save by the Napoli keeper. In the second half, it would be Xerxes who lays the ball off for Lundstrom, who scored a great goal against us in the league, but again, big save by Atubolu. The difference in this game was made in the 71st minute. Manu Kone is going to get by his man, looking for an option, decides to keep it himself, and slots it by the Napoli keeper to make it 1-0 Coventry, and that is how this one would end. Coventry City, even though we weren't able to improve on our league spot that we'll see in a little bit, we are able to take home the Europa League trophy at the first time of asking. And of course, it's got to be the captain Manu Kone who hoists this trophy high. Love to see that result, and now we can check how everything finished at the end of the season. So admittedly, the Premier League took a little bit of a backseat to the Europa League, but it turns out that was the right move after all. And even though we simmed basically all of the Premier League games in the second half, we still somehow managed a 7th place finish, so I'm still pretty happy about that. Taking a look at the FA Cup, again, league competitions were also really not a focus, but the FA Cup goes to Arsenal. We have the Carabao Cup going to Crystal Palace with a big win over Chelsea 4-0 in the finals to win them their trophy. And it was Milano winning 1-0 against Real Madrid. AC Milan wins the UEFA Champions League. Of course, we had Coventry City 1-0 over Napoli, and it was Trabzonspor who beat Aston Villa in the Conference League. Taking a look at the stats for this season, it was Rafinha that led the way with 15 goals and 10 assists. Alex St. Maximin had 12 goals, 9 assists. Haji Wright only had 12 goals this year, but as you can see, games played is almost half compared to everybody else. Manu Kone, 11 goals, 9 assists. James Ward-Prowse, 9 goals, 10 assists. And Memphis Depay chipped in with 7 goals and 3 assists. Taking a look at who won the Golden Boot in the Premier League, it was Ollie Watkins, who's now playing for Chelsea with 29 goals. Phil Foden had 14 assists. And Jan Oblak for Chelsea had 9 clean sheets. Were we somewhere close there? I don't think so this time around. There's Atubolu with 5. So here's the team we finished up with this season. A big hurt was losing Ben Sheaf about a month ago, who was out for the season at center defensive midfielder. Eccles stepped in nicely. You can see the growth from Manu Kone, who's now an 85 overall. We got Brathwaite, who's 84, Atubolu 83, Van Ewijk 83. Still a big core nucleus from this Coventry City team is still with us right now. And guys, that's where we're going to call it on this series. No Premier League win, but it's a huge victory to take home the Europa League. So I think that is a big success and a successful rebuild for Coventry City. If you've enjoyed this series, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, that helps out a ton. Leave comments down below of who you want to see the next rebuilds, of which teams be done, that also helps out a lot. I'm going to try to get more back on track with the next series, and more of a set schedule, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so look forward to that coming soon, and as always guys, thanks for watching.